Okay, the time is now 4 o'clock, and I'd like to call this session of the Court of Revision for the Chappis Drain to order. I'd like to welcome everybody in council chambers today, as well as everybody watching on our live stream. Does any member of the court have any disclosure of pecuniary interests in the general nature thereof?
No.
No, I do not.
None seen, thank you very much. Our land acknowledgement for the town of LaSalle. We acknowledge that the ground on which we live is the traditional territory of the Caldwell First Nation, of the Three Fires of Confederacy, and the original people of Point Pelee and Pelee Island and its surrounding lands and waters, and that of the Huron, Wendat, and Wyandot peoples. We recognize and respect the First Nations who are stewards of the land and waters of Turtle Island and who have embraced this stewardship since the time of immemorial. We would also like to acknowledge the contributions of other nearby First Nation communities and all original people across Turtle Island. I ask for a motion to accept our agenda, that the Court of Revision agenda dated February 1st, 2024 be approved as circulated, including the items added to the agenda.
So moved.
Any second?
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. The purpose of the Court of Revision is to hear the appeals to the charges being assessed to the individual property owners as outlined in the amended schedule of assessment contained in the engineer's report for the repair and improvement of the Chappis Drain. Submissions related to the technical merits of the engineer's report and any other submissions are not permitted. The sitting of the Court of Revision is pursuant to the amended engineer's report prepared by Root Engineering Incorporated, dated November 7th, 2023. And I'd like to ask Brian McMillan, the Town of LaSalle Drainage Superintendent, for some comments, please.
Thank you. After the first sitting of the Court of Revision on November 16th of 2023, the Town of LaSalle received addendum number 1 to the engineer's report, which details updates to the construction schedule assessment. After receiving the addendum, all affected landowners were notified and were given the opportunity to submit an appeal with the town prior to today's second sitting of the Court of Revision. At this time, I'd like to call upon Mr. Gerard Rood, the engineer appointed to the project, to provide comments before we move forward with discussion of the appeals.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. So our office did not receive any appeals with regards to the assessment schedule addendum dated 2023-1107 that was put out to balance and make fair assessments to parcels along the Gulfview Drive area near the outlet of the drainage works that are being undertaken through the drainage report. We received an email on January 26th from Brian regarding the appeals that had been submitted, and he explained that the town staff had discussed that with the two applicants, which were the Benvenuto and the Bodwin parcel owners, and their explanations provided for them to have both appeals withdrawn from the submissions that they had made. So as far as I understand, the court can go ahead with accepting the amended assessment schedule and proceed with council adopting the final report, including the assessment addendum schedule for the project. If there's any questions from the public or the members of the court, I will do my best to try and answer or address them, or Brian may be able to provide some input or information on them.
Thank you very much. The town, as noted, did receive two appeals. Guido Benvenuto of 7225 Malden Road in LaSalle requested that the assessment amount be reconsidered for this property and reduced to the residential portion only. That has since been withdrawn. Matthew and Sarah Bodwin of 7350 Matchett Road in LaSalle submitted for cost sharing regarding the improvement and construction of the Chappus Drain, and that has also been withdrawn. Is there any owner or agent present who wishes to speak on any of these withdrawn appeals? Present? None seen, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to come forward with a late appeal? Please approach. Yes. Right.
My wife is sorry. My name is Bill Thompson.
Can you turn your mic on, please?
Pardon? What'd you just say?
There you go. Can you please state your name?
It's Bill
address?
Thompson, 1460 Gulfview Drive.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm going to need a motion to accept a late appeal from the court. Do I have a motion to hear this appeal?
I would move a motion to hear the appeal.
A second.
Okay, thank you very much. Can we hear your name again and your address and the reason in which you missed the 10 days deadline?
Bill Thompson, 1460 Gulfview Drive. Questioning the amount of $3,340 that the township seems to think I'm obligated to pay.
I'm sorry, could you please put on your mic again?
I'm going to turn it off.
Thank you.
Is it on now?
Yes, no.
Just make sure when the mic is on, it's red.
What?
Okay.
It's good now? Okay, thank you. Where was I? My name is Bill Thompson, 1460 Gulfview Drive, and I'm here to question the amount of $3,340 that the township feels I'm obligated to pay for part of this process of the Chappus Drain. The drain is between my property and Mr. Patno in the back of the room there, and it was installed by the contractor of our house in 1973, I believe. Since that time, it was replaced, I believe, 25 years ago, and is on the north side of Gulfview Drive. And there's a drainage ditch that now goes through the driving range of Essex. And the drain has worked fine. It's worked. We have no problems with it. We've had no problems whatsoever, except for the collapse one time, and the guys come out and fixed it. Now we understand that the whole thing has got to be replaced or raised up because of the level. We've done nothing to change it. So I don't know why now all of a sudden it's out of level. It's been like that for 53 years. And now all of a sudden I'm obligated to pay for this, bringing the level up, and I don't quite understand this. If you could explain that to me, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, if I could make a comment here. Yeah.
Who's talking?
Hi there, yeah. So the purpose of today's meeting is really to discuss your assessment. However, the work related to your property, near your property, between yourself and Mr. Patno, is related to your assessment, as your property has been assessed a value of benefit for the adjustment of the culvert. So at this time, I'd like to see if Gerard could provide some more comment on the assessment of benefit related to that culvert work.
Who's Gerard? Oh,
Through you, Mr. Chairman. So we surveyed the drainage system works to establish the amount of silt and sediment that had been built up and to verify and check the elevations of the bridges and enclosures located along the drain. We then utilized the past report for establishing the drain profile and discovered that the enclosure pipe that extends north from Golfview Drive was somehow set too high compared to what the original grade profile line was for the drainage works. So to ensure that all of the upstream drain could drain properly and adequately, we provided for lowering that pipe, and our report provides for cleaning out the drain upstream of that and cleaning out the pipe culverts, plus there is that diversion of the drain as well.
I understand that. But how was it installed incorrectly in the first place? Or was it incorrectly installed?
So just to interrupt here, so discussions regarding the technical merits of the report have kind of come and gone. However, we are here today to discuss your assessment, right, which is related to the work. So perhaps if we could get, Gerard, if you could maybe make a comment which relates towards the 3 areas of assessment, his benefit, outlet, and special benefit, in how those numbers came to be. So if we could kind of shift our focus to the assessment on the property. So I think we've established the work that's planned to be done.
Yep.
And now we'll focus towards your assessment, because that's the point of today's meeting.
Okay, he's going to explain to me the benefits of this?
We're going to explain how your assessment came to be the number that it is.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. So we utilized the past report on the drainage works to establish the amount of areas affected and the rate of assessments for both benefit and outlet liability for the project. And we then adjusted that slightly to reflect only the works that we are doing from Golfview Drive northerly to the upper end of the drainage works. The benefit assessments are based on proximity of the parcels to the drain itself and the advantages that the property receives by having a sufficient and adequate outlet to meet the standard drainage guide design requirements for handling the flows from all of the properties that contribute their flows to the drainage works. So we've minimized the risk of flooding and damages to the properties and crops, etc. on the properties. The outlet liability assessment to each parcel is based on the amount of area that they have contributing flows and the use of the land as far as the amount of flow that will come from the property. Small lots that are built up with homes and driveways have a higher runoff factor because of all of the hard surfacing, so they pay a slightly higher rate per acre for their assessment based on the fact that their hard surfaces contribute more flows into the drainage works than open field areas such as the agricultural lands that are assessed within this particular project. In the drainage report, we provided special benefit assessment to the properties that asked for special works to be done, including that diversion for the driving range diversion of the drain around the perimeter of the property, because that's just a benefit that's directly to those owners. So we utilized the cost assessment for diverting that drain around the property as the golf club requested, and assessed them for our construction estimate as well as their fair share of the incidental costs for preparing all of the design and drainage report and establishing their assessment for that. So that's basically how the drainage reports allocates the cost assessments to everybody, and then we made those final adjustments in the addendum for an oversight that we had for properties along Golfview Drive, where some were assessed more typical on the rate from the older report, whereas because they're located right at the outlet and only have some minor contribution to the repairs and improvements north of Golfview Drive, we reduced those assessments to all the Golfview property drives to be consistent for every single property along the north side of Golfview Drive, just for their contribution of flows into the portion of the drain that's being affected by the works completed under our drainage report. And that then resulted in rebalancing the assessments to all of the upstream lands and roads to still take care of the total assessment required for the project, to be able to be fairly assessed to all of the lands contributing flows and benefiting from the drainage works being repaired and restored to their original design capacity.
Thank you very much. Does that satisfy you, Bill?
I have no clue what he talked about. I haven't got a single clue what he was saying.
Perhaps I'll just add some more
Maybe you can
comment here.
clarify it.
Sure. So looking at your assessment, it's broken down into three areas. So first, we have the value of benefit, the value of outlet, and the value of special benefit. In your case, there is no value of special benefit. If we were to look at the golf course in their realignment, that's a special benefit that they're being assessed for, just for example. So for your assessment, it's really strictly broken down to the value of outlet, which is related to the water that's collected on your property, using the Chappus drain as its outlet. And that's how all properties within the watershed, they all have a value of outlet, as they all contribute water into the drain. More specific to your property, you've also been assessed a value of benefit for the culvert near your property. So that cost is related to the difference between having the culvert next to your property and having an open ditch next to your property, right? So the way that that can be factored in, things that are considered in a value of benefit are increased property cost, property values, ease of access for maintenance of the property, so cutting the lawn, for example, over the closed ditch, as opposed to the open drain, and appearances, things like that are all factored in. So for your property, you've received the value of benefit and the value of outlet. So those are the two things that contribute to the number.
But those were paid for, right? By the original contractor who built our property.
So at this time, the culvert is not in concurrence, like it doesn't provide the full design capacity of the drain due to the incorrect installation. So the culvert needs to come out. I do believe that the culvert pipe is being reused, which will reduce the cost, but it does need to be adjusted in order for the Chappus drain to provide full design capacity.
All right.
Right? So as part of that cost, to reinstall that culvert, you have been assessed a value of benefit, as has your neighbor.
Oh, okay, and you're charging me for the reestablishment of this culvert?
That is correct. That does play into your assessment.
And it was 25 years ago, the township replaced that, they put it in. They made it, they put that thing in there. Now, if it's not at the right level or whatever the problem is, why should I be obligated to that if you guys put it in?
So again, I can't speak to the past works that were done on the drain specifically. What I can say is that your property, and maybe not you particularly, you may not feel that you're getting this benefit, but objectively, your property does benefit from this culvert, and that is what plays into your assessment.
What's that?
We put it in when we have to,
If a member of the audience would like to speak, would you please come to the microphone and state your name and address, please?
Barbara Thompson at 1460, do I have to, it's 1460 Gulfview Drive. Our contractor put the culvert in on the south side, ours, okay? 50 years ago when we built. There was nothing wrong with it. You came along and put one across the street. I don't know if you charged them for it. Was it 10 years ago? They
Yeah, when
didn't,
they're
they had a
south side.
ditch the whole time.
Are
The north
you,
side.
are we discussing now more of in front of the properties?
On the south side of Gulfview.
Right. So in
We're on
front of the
south
property?
side, aren't we?
We're on the north side.
We're north. Okay, south side. You put one in over there, you put it higher than ours. Then you decide that maybe you should correct ours.
So the work that is outlined in the report and recommended in the engineer's report is all taking place on the north side of Gulfview. So I'd like to focus our discussions there.
Okay,
that's
all
right.
right. But on the other side of Gulfview, there was a ditch up until probably 10 years ago,
10,
I'm not
12 years
sure.
ago, yeah.
Okay? Then you people came and put it, went in there. You put it higher than ours and caused this problem.
That's what the problem is, but
That's the problem. So why should we pay for an error that you guys did?
So
now
again,
it's
the
not
reason for the assessment is due to the benefit to the property.
But our benefit for the property was put in when we built the house. We put the culvert in. We paid to have the culvert put in.
and
And the guy across the street didn't have one. It was flowing fine, except you guys never cleaned the ditches out.
South side isn't the question at the moment right now. So Gerard was the engineer of record, and he looked at the hydraulic elevations that the drain needs to be on the north side of Gulfview. At this point, based on his recommendation, he's determined where the culvert needs to be. This conversation should have been had at the meeting to consider, where we were looking at the engineering aspects of the overall project. Today is just for the assessment.
Right.
Now, I know you guys, it can be seen that they're one and the same, but they're different. One is looking at if the hydraulic grade line is correct or not and what work needs to be done. At this point, we believe it is correct and your culvert should have been raised. So these issues should have been raised
When you-
earlier, way earlier,
When you put the other one in.
where the meetings were had before. Today, we're looking at your assessment. I know your assessment, it seems high, but it's to ensure that there's proper drainage for the entire boundary north of here, and all those that benefit from it. So if, regardless of when this was put in or how long ago, today's design, we need it at a certain elevation that it isn't at. Typically, we would be removing the culvert and installing a new one. In this case, we're lucky that we're going to be able to try to replace what's existing there and put it at its proper elevation. So your rationale to the court, and it's up to them to make the decision, is that you're not happy with the work. They can decide how they want to decide, but typically these matters aren't one and the same.
no, we're not just saying we're dissatisfied with the work. The work that was originally done should have been up to level, yeah, that's correct. But we're not getting any benefit of this as far as I can see.
And you say
Everything works fine for us right now, but.
we have no problem with it.
So again, it can be a little tricky, but the benefit is assessed to the property, which may not make sense on the surface, but it's related to the increase in property value and things of that nature. So personally, you may not feel that you have this benefit and you're receiving benefit. The benefit is assessed to the property, not particularly to the owner.
But it looks really great. We've had the benefit for 50 years. It looks beautiful. We cut our grass, and there was no house next door to us. They just built after that. We put the culvert in. We paid, our builder paid for it, and we're not going to pay for another one.
We don't feel like we should.
No.
Thank you very much, Brian. Gerard stated the benefits and all the work that's being done on this property. Bill, do you have any final comments about this?
Yeah,
And how you feel that it meets one of the three criterias?
of the three criteria, I don't see where we're gonna, our drainage ditch, or whatever you wanna call it, or culvert, or bridge, as he refers to some of these things, working fine. It's working fine. Essex bought the property, now they want the ditch, and then everything all of a sudden happens. And all I know is I'm sitting there minding my own business, and I got a bill for $3,340. And it just seems unfair. I'm sorry, that's about all I've got to say.
I think at this point, we've exhausted the conversation and perhaps even into some that we should have been held at a previous date. I think at this time, I'd ask the court to make a deliberation, if you guys are comfortable. If you have any more questions, of course, myself, Gerard, are also available.
Does any other member have a question for the engineer?
Yeah, I would just question, not the engineer, but as far as the reasoning for the appeal, you've got three basic choices. Either the assessment is too high or too low. The land towards the road has been assessed too high or too low. Or other land or road that should have been assessed has not been assessed, or due consideration has not been given to the type of use of the land. So is there one of those reasons that,
What I'm talking about is the assessment for the cost to get this thing done, the $3,340. That's what I'm talking about. I think our property taxes are in line with everybody else around there. I don't see where it's out of line, so, yeah, sure, I'd like to pay less taxes, but that's the way it is. And I accepted the last set of taxes. I live next door to a counselor, and I can complain and whine to him all I want, but it's done. So I'm sorry, I can't give you any other than the fact that I think it's just an unfair assessment.
okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for your time, gentlemen. And I'm not trying to disparage anybody here. It's just, it seems like it's an unfair charge.
Yeah.
I would have thought this should be ongoing maintenance to the Public Works Department.
I will be available after the meeting to continue discussions if you wish, just to kind of go over some other things.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
At this time, I ask for a motion to retreat and discuss this matter.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so the court's going to deliberate, and they'll be back momentarily with their decision on the appeals. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone, for your patience. After some deliberation, with respect to your assessment being too high, we have declined your appeal. And at this moment, I would like for a motion to adopt the amended schedule of assessment as presented.
Pass that motion.
Second.
Thank you very much. The meeting is now adjourned.